Yo, a few weeks ago, President Trump signed an executive order called the Raleigh Act, protecting women and girls in sports from having to compete against men. Today, President Trump banned transgender men from competing in sports and praised Riley Gaines. Check it out. My name is Marcus Russell. This is the Marcus Russell Show. I'm about to show you some crazy stuff that's going on in America. I'm gonna explain a little bit about Leah Catherine Thomas. That's this dude who competes in women's sports. He dominates in women's sports, and why it has gained so much traction in the media today. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I need 100,000 subscribers. Yo, let's get right to it.
President Trump is expected to sign an executive order later today banning transgender athletes from women's sports. The order is the latest of a slew of actions by the Trump administration targeting transgender Americans, including declaring the U.S. will only recognize a person's sex assigned at birth. Let's bring in journalist and transgender activist Raquel Willis for more on this. Raquel, thanks for joining us. You know, a group of transgender young adults and family of transgender minors are suing the Trump administration over this executive order restricting gender-affirming care for people younger than 19. That executive order includes withholding federal funding to medical institutions. So what kind of a reaction are you seeing to that?
There's a lot of devastation and sadness around this care that many trans youth and their families have relied on for years. But we're also seeing a lot of people be activated. In New York, we saw just 2 nights ago a huge rally of thousands who came out to support trans youth, speak out against these medical institutions that are complying in advance. And this is really a time where across the board, we need to be defying these hateful actions by the Trump administration.
Now, the State Department webpage providing information.
Now, I agree. Trans lives do matter, but I don't think that trans lives should participate in women's sports. Like, come on, it's not cool, you know? Like, that's crazy. Leah Catherine Thomas was the first openly transgender athlete to win the NCAA Division I championship. Also winning the women's free 200 freestyle before being banned in World Aquatics from participating in women's aquatics. Um, but what's crazy is he went from being like 554th when he was in the men's competition, from 554th ranking in the 200 freestyle to number 5th place ranking in the 200 freestyle when he got to the women's competition. So, how did he go from being like the worst men's athlete to one of the top women's athletes in America? How did he go from so quick? And I have the answer for that. He simply removed all his man's parts. Yeah, he removed his man parts. So now he's dominating. He's blowing these women out the water. Oh, let's get back to it.
Information for LGBTQI plus travelers. Change the acronym to LGB. Multiple pages on the CDC website about HIV and LGBTQ plus people were also taken down or modified, with a notice reading the CDC's website's being modified to comply with President Trump's executive orders. What kind of impact do you think this could have on health care for the LGBTQ plus community?
Well, I think first, what happens when you try to strip trans people of our existence in the LGBTQ plus larger community and movement, it's a divide and conquer strategy. So essentially, the Trump administration and this current government wants the people who have likely been our allies over the years and decades to abandon us. They believe that we don't have the numbers, we don't have the support. And that's not true. I think the other thing that people have to understand is this attack on trans folks is going to impact everyone. This administration is pushing this restrictive idea of...
Wait, did she say it's going to affect us? Like we? When is she talking about genders? Is this... Man, this chick better not.
Womanhood and manhood. There's a lot of weird focus on reproductive capabilities that ignores the complexity of all of our lives and experiences. So we really have to resist and defy all of these divide and conquer strategies.
Now,
Man, I think this chick is a dude right here talking, y'all. I mean, like, no wonder like she's an expert on it. Like, man, it's messed up, man, because it's not a bad looking dude. No, pause, pause, pause. I'm gonna probably edit that, but like, it's confusing. Well, I don't want my kids growing up in this world though. I ain't gonna lie, like, it's
that said, a
confusing.
recent New York Times Ipsos poll showed only 18% of Americans support transgender women playing in women's sports. What do you say to that?
Nobody supports it. That's what it
I
says.
think a lot of people don't know trans people in their everyday lives. So they don't know the ins and outs of our experiences. They
Unless you
often
started
just
off a
think of
dude.
us as hypothetical beings out there that are waiting to be the boogeyman in their lives. That's not true. And the Trump administration and really the conservative right have been stoking this ignorance for years. But we're not going to fall for it. I think it's
It's
also
crazy.
important for folks to understand that this has never really been about trans people in sports, and particularly trans women and girls in sports. This has
The
always
Raleigh Act
been
is about
about trying
sports.
to erase us from society, from access to health care, from access to employment, education, safety, and security. But we're, again, not just going to roll over and allow this to happen. Trans folks and the folks who love us
Us.
and support us and understand our
She said
brilliance
us.
are rising up.
So, what's your message to people who don't have
That is
someone trans
crazy.
in their life and who feel confused by this? Do you feel like the message getting out there is wrong? What's your message to them instead?
Well, my message is that I really want us to see the connections around all of the attacks. So when I think about the attacks on our immigrant family, and our undocumented immigrant family. That is part and parcel with the attacks on trans folks because right now we're seeing our passports really being under attack. We're not able to change our genders and have our true identities reflected there. That's a document
True.
insecurity that ties us to the fight against immigrants right now. The attacks on DEI, I mean, thinking about being a trans person in society, if you have a presidential administration that is saying that you don't exist, how are you going to get a job, right? So it's all part and
Just
parcel.
write what
People
you
need to
are
see
were
those
born
connections,
with, like he
but we
told
also
you.
need a culture of deeper empathy. And that's why I'm excited that Gender Liberation Movement, an organization I co-founded, we're working with some amazing partners. We're going to have a rally this Saturday, February 8th in New York. Check it out. It's going to be all about trans youth and their power and why we've got to come together in this time.
Raquel, I'm out of time, but quickly, any message to
Crazy.
trans youth or really anyone out there right now feeling scared about some of these policies?
Yes. No one gave us our identities and our truth and our power, and nobody can take it away without our permission. So stick in there.
No one did. God did, girl. What is wrong, boy? Ah, man. Man, I'm gonna come off as homophobic on this damn episode. Yo, the Raleigh Act and Protection for Girls and Women in Sports basically is a ban of transgender people in women's sports, introduced by Florida Senator Greg Stubble. The vote was 218 to 206, with two Democrats choosing on behalf of the ban. Um, Republicans tried to get this through last year, like I said, but it wasn't taken up by the Democratic Party when they got in the office. So now that Trumpito is back in office, this wasn't one of his executive orders. This was a bill that was literally passed through Congress, the Raleigh Act. Um, this bill basically just prohibits transgender women from participating, men from, I don't even know how to say this. And I'm feeling like I might come off as homophobic on this video, but I promise you I'm not. Um, there's a lot of homosexual men that I love that are in my family that I love with all my heart. My only quarrel, I mean, like, and I lived in Atlanta for like 3 years. Anybody who lived in Atlanta knows that you will be desensitized. Um, my only problem is that, like I always say, the LGBTQ, I think they took the Q off, so now the LBGT community is the smallest minority in America. You know what I'm saying? The fact that the Democratic Party has taken up this position to put them at the top of the mark for getting bills passed first, y'all changing pronouns. To be such a small minority in America, yes, I understand you want same rights as other people, but I always said it's just the same like I said about illegal immigrants. Get in line. America doesn't have a problem spending money anywhere. Seems like just throw money away. But I feel like American veterans need this money. I don't really mess with the police, but police and teachers should be getting paid how they weigh. You know what I'm saying? And this extra money that y'all have could be going to stopping homelessness, hiring our education status in this world. So many different places. I understand the homosexual and LGBT community wants to have a voice, but I hear y'all loud and clear. You know, America hear you. As a matter of fact, it's been a rainbow flag above the White House for 2, 3 administrations. You know what I'm saying? I want some of mine now. I want America to treat me like I'm important too. I'm in a minority, actually a larger minority than the gay and lesbian community is. So I hope I don't get no dislikes. I love you. I love us all, especially if you're an American. I love you. I don't care what type of sexual preference you have, but like there's this boy that was in women's uh wrestling, transgender boy, beating the mess out of these girls. Like physically, we are not the same. If God created you as a man, you can't just cut your stuff off and then just be like, I'm a woman. And I mean, you can, but you shouldn't go participate in sports. Like, what the heck? And they doing it in high school now. That's the country that we live in. Only in America, because all the other countries is like, this dude is not racing against our chicks in the swim meet. You idiots. Jesus. I'm sorry if that came off distasteful, y'all. I'm actually not sorry because it's my show. Tell me what you think in the comments. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. My name is Marcus Russell. Until next time.